When I think of brave Americans who were willing to give everything they had, even their lives, the story of Nathan Hale comes to my mind. It was a little more than a year after the Battle of Bunker Hill in 1776 when the British beat the Patriots in the Battle of Long Island. They were forced to leave New York City and went to Harlem. When the British were occupying New York City, they planned to stay there for the rest of the winter and then crush the rebels and then go back to England. Washington's army looked almost hopeless. They had 14,000 men fit for duty compared to the British's 25,000. The British also had a fleet of ships to back them up in the harbor, and they sent scout ships up and down the rivers every single day watching every move of the Patriot army. Washington talked the situation over long and calmly with his officers. They decided the only way that they could win was to get a spy to go into the fort and get as much information as they could to find the weak points of the fort and then come back and tell them. Washington asked his officers to find just the right person. They took a bunch of people they thought would qualify to attend, and they asked them who would be willing to do it for General Washington. Not one of them volunteered because none of them wanted to risk being hanged for a spy. They asked one more time, who will be willing to do this for General Washington? No one answered. Then young Captain Nathan Hale, at 21 years old, still pale from being sick, came in the door. He said, "I'll do this for General Washington." Everyone liked Nathan Hale, and they all begged him not to go. He said, "I know the risk, and I'm willing to do this for my country." He set off for the British fort, dressed as a Quaker schoolmaster looking for a place to stay. In the fort, the British all liked him. He was very funny, he cracked jokes, and he told stories that pleased them. One British officer after spoke of him as a jolly good fellow. While in the fort, he kept his eyes and ears open, taking in everything he could. He drew plans of the fort and hid the papers in his shoes. After 2 weeks, he was about ready to go back. He went to the inn where he stayed and ate his suppers, and he went into the bar room to get his meal, and he saw someone that he thought he knew. The person gave him a sharp look and then walked out of the room. He thought he knew he'd seen him somewhere before, but he just couldn't remember where. So he ate his supper, went up to bed, and slept through the night very well. The next morning, he went down to the beach at daybreak, and he saw a ship coming toward him. He waved to the ship, but no one answered his call. When the boat got ashore, he saw it was full of rebel redcoat soldiers. He turned to run, but the officer ordered him to stop or else he'd be shot. He had no choice to give himself up. He was taken from that boat to another one that was around a point of land, and he was searched. They found the papers, and the officer in command there said, "I think you're a spy." The charge for him was to be hung at daybreak the next morning. Despite such the early hour, a lot of people in the town showed up. He was walked out to his death, and he was standing right before the noose was going to be put around his neck, with his eyes up to heaven. He said something I'll never forget. He said, "I just regret that I have only one life to lose for my country."